Good morning folks, and welcome to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join me today sat in the old jalopy on a little car park right at the bottom of Parbold Hill, which is in West Lancashire and just outside the village of Parbold. Now we've come today to do a little video where I just talk into the camera and we're taking a few points of interest along the way. Nothing heavy, nothing strenuous, it's just me enjoying myself, because after all, it's not a bad morning this morning, you know, the sun's shining as you can see outside. It's clear blue skies, although it's a bit chilly. That's why the old arts had to come out. It's had to start coming out now, Hot Potters, on the outdoor videos that I do, because Mr H is getting a bit thin up top. So you need one of these when you fall a little challenge like I am. Now there's no Mrs H today, it's just me. You know, I'll be doing camera work as well as being in front of the camera. So I apologise in advance for any crap handles or any bit of wind that you might capture on the camera. Mrs H is a lot better at that than I am. She's learned all the tricks down the years of muffling wind and things like that. I'm just a beginner in that respect. So what we're going to take a look at today? Well, the first thing we're going to take a look at will be a level crossing. Now what's interesting about that level crossing is it's one of the last ones in this area to be manned. They're all now automatic barriers, you know, when you see in these safety films where some idiot tries beating the barrier like Starsky and Hutch. Well, this one's one of the ones where somebody comes out and lowers the barriers. With a bit of luck we'll capture that on camera, but if not, we'll still take a look at it anyway, because after all it's a bit of history. And then we're going to make our way around and have a look at a site of an old chapel that was built in the 1400s. And lasted right through up to the 1800s when it was demolished and when a successor for it was built. Now the chapel's not there anymore, although the lane that we'll be walking along still bears the name Chapel Lane. And we'll be taking a walk along that and take a look at the memorial cross that's been placed there to state that this was the site of that chapel. So folks, without further ado, let's get on Shank's pony, let's get out there and let's stretch our legs. So folks, this is where our walk begins, at the Alder Lane Playing Fields car park. I'm going to make my way off now, and I'm going to cross the playing fields and make my way to that level crossing. Right then, we've made our way across the playing fields, and I'm sort of on the last bit of field before I head towards the level crossing. Now this level crossing has been here since 1855 when the line originally opened, and it then belonged to the Manchester and Southport Railway Company. Now it merged the company down the years, and eventually it became the London Midland and Scottish Railway, or LMS as it used to be known as, and it was that right through to nationalisation, the good old British Rail days. And now it's being run by Network Rail. Now Network Rail want to close it, they want to close the crossing and bypass it. What they want to do is drive a road from the car park as I've just been stood on, right across this field as you can see, and over there towards that little house where the level crossing is. And their argument is that that level crossing only serves a couple of houses at the bottom of Chapel Lane. Ironically enough, where that chapel used to be that I was telling you about earlier that we'll be going having a look at in a bit. So their argument is, you know, it's not serving many people, we'll pay for a road and we'll bypass it. Now fair play to the local parish council here, I don't know if it's the Parbold District Council, whatever it be. They're actually saying, no, you can't do that, you know, Network Rail, we're not having that, we're not having, you know, green belt land being built over, so, you know, hats off to you, hats off to you chaps for what you're doing. Just try and get my hat back on here, not very easy, is it, with one hand. Fair play to those guys, you know, they're the ones that have said you can't do it. You know, the bigger councils, such as my hometown, Wigan, oh yeah, build over it, they wouldn't have bothered, would they? And it is a shame, really, that they're going to lose a little bit of heritage, a little bit of history, should it close down. So you never know, Hot Potters, this video that I'm making might be the last time this is recorded. You just never know, because it currently is still ongoing, this argument. No doubt Network Rail will come back. I'll try and get a better handle there. Yeah, there, that's better, you can see my face better, can't you, rather than a black disc. They will turn round and say, you know, no, we're going to keep pushing until we get our own way. So we're on the final little walk now, just before we get to this level crossing. As I say, 1855 it's been here since, and it's been manned all that time. Now the first thing I've noticed in the distance is a house, you know, stone house, I should imagine that house originally was the keeper's cottage, you know. It came with the job type of thing. I think that's now a private dwelling. So we won't be able to go around and have a look at it in too much in depth. I don't like pointing a camera at people's houses. People get funny about it, can't they? But then again, I suppose if you live in an historic type of building, you can expect people coming round. Right then, we're now at the level crossing. I'll just show you the little board here that tells you about Chapel Lane Meadow. There we go. And we're going to make our way now up to the level crossing. Now, one of the things the guys don't like here, who man this, who are in this little cabin, they don't like people banging gate. They complain about walkers going through and banging gate. So we'll be on our best behaviour and we won't do that. So I'll whip the camera around now and I'll show you this level crossing. And here we are. This is the gateway through to that level crossing. There's the stone house in the background. As I say, I think originally that would have been the level crossing keeper's house. It's now just that little white cabin that you can see in front of you. I can hear a few voices in there, so obviously, you know, the guys who man this are still in there. So we'll make our way through this gate now without banging it, and we'll take a closer look at this level crossing. And this is it from the road. As you can see, there's no barriers whatsoever. You know, someone would have to come out of that little cabin there, open it, and let vehicles pass through to continue down that road there where we'll be going in a little while. It's not a bad house, that. Now, whether or not it's been added to that over the years or not, who knows? It does look it. It does look like it's had a bit of extension work done at it. I should imagine it was just a bit of a cottage at one time. Unfortunately, I can't find any period photographs online to show you what this crossing would have looked like back in the day. So, you know, it's a bit of one of those that you just have to use your imagination on this one, Hot Potters. Right, then we're going to make our way through that gate now, and we're going to stop, look and listen and beware of trains. And we'll take a look at it from the other side. I think the idea is, if you're a motorist, you sort of press that buzzer there, and then the guys in the little railway cabin there will come out and deal with you. So, let's go, shall we? I won't let the gate bang. That way up there's back to Wigan and Manchester, and that way's off to Southport. I always feel funny walking across railway lines, don't you? And this is it from the other side. A closer look at that building. Quite a bit of architectural work in that. Probably another one of those that they've bought for next to nothing, and it's worth a pretty penny now. I should imagine, should that little railway crossing close, they'll be sort of in a bit of a remote location, stuck down bottom of a road that goes nowhere. So we've made it to the other side without getting flattened. I'm going to make my way back over there now, and off down Chapel Lane, and we'll make our way towards where that chapel used to be, hence the name Chapel Lane. Well folks, we got back across the level crossing there, just took a little look at it. Hopefully you enjoyed that little bit of a look at one of the old level crossings, one of the last ones to still be manned, like I say, in this area. Maybe this time next year it no longer will be. So we're going to make our way down Chapel Lane now, which for its rather grandiose title, as you can see there, it's not really a big lane, is it? It's just more of a dirt track that's been tarmacked. Now what should happen is we should follow this and then go over the canal bridge, and then we should get to those new houses. When I say new houses, you know, purpose-built dwellings that that level crossing back there serves. As I said, there's only a couple of them, but obviously when you see these houses, you'll realise that these people have a bit of money, so, you know, it's no wonder that they've got their own private level crossing type of thing. Now, whether or not that's manned 24 hours or not, I don't know. You know, maybe it's one of those where you only have certain hours where you can get in and out. If it is manned 24 hours, then I can understand why Network Rail are complaining a little bit and want to bypass it, as a road would be a lot cheaper, wouldn't it? Although it doesn't look very good on the whole landscape, does it? Roads everywhere. So we're now approaching the Canal Bridge. I made my way up from the canal last time. I actually walked it, if you remember, in some of those previous videos. If you haven't seen those videos, you know, my canal walks, I'll put a link up now for you, and then you can take a look at those. Like I said, some of these walks went down really well with you. You know, you enjoyed having a little ramble with Mr. H and listening to my musings and ramblings. Yeah, now making our way up to the Canal Bridge. Always lovely this time of year. There's something sort of magical about this time of year, I find. You know, sort of autumn coming on and all that thing. It's not too hot and it's not too cold on some mornings. There'll soon be frost on the ground. Right then, here we are at the Canal Bridge. Back behind me will be Wigan, and that way is Parbold. So we're going to make our way through this bit of a yard now. I say I always feel funny going through places like this, because although it's a public footpath, you feel as though you're sort of going through somebody's house. You know, you always wonder where the public footpath actually is. I do anyway, because like I said, you know, you feel like you're trespassing a little bit. Chapel House Barn. Definitely on the right way here. Ah yes, public footpath, there we are, it's marked up. Some people are a bit naughty who have public footpaths running through the land, because they either remove the signs or they don't maintain them. And as I said, that's a little bit naughty really, you shouldn't do that. You know, to try and discourage people from going through. It's a lovely day today. Right, here we are. This is the site where that chapel was. I'll flip the camera around now and I'll show you the cross that commemorates or marks the spot. And there it is, tucked in just off the public footpath there, in this little well-kept area, and behind these railings here, like a Celtic cross type thing. I'll get closer because, as you know, this camera doesn't zoom in. I have got Mrs. H's old iPhone camera, and that does zoom in, but as yet I've not learned how to use that one, so you'll have to bear with me. Here stood Old Douglas Chapel for 4 full centuries. Loved, is that adored, or I can't make out, it needs a good cleaning though. But basically it gives you the dates of when it was when it stood here, and you know, when it was demolished. Just moved back the way I came, sort of a zoom out shot. Now there was first recorded a chapel on this spot in 1240, I believe, and then the building that they're talking about was, I think, 1420, and that stood there till about 1875 when it was finally deconsecrated, demolished, the land sold off, I should imagine, and they built Christ Church, which is just up on the bottom of Parbold Hill as you go up it. It's on your left hand side. There's a church at the bottom and there's a church at the top. I suppose if you was from the denomination where the church was at the top, it was a bloody hard walk up there. Right then, I'll whip the camera round and we'll have another little natter. Now the correct name for this chapel wasn't Douglas Chapel, it just got that nickname. It was really St Maurice Chapel, although because we're close to the River Douglas, it sort of got that nickname. I believe it was built as a chapel of ease, and the idea was, back in the days when religion was very popular, people who lived out in sticks and in farms areas like this, they would need to get to the church, and it could be a long way to get to a church that was in a city or in a town. So they built what they call chapels of eases, so that, you know, you could go there and you could worship there. type of thing. So we're going to make our way now away from the chapel and across the fields here, and we'll see where this brings us out. It should bring us out on a road, and it should bring us out right at the bottom of Parbold Hill, and then we can take a little walk up and have a little look at you know, the Jesus Christ Church that replaced Douglas Chapel there. Now what it doesn't mention though is a bit of a story that in 1643 I think it was, there was the siege of Latham, which is the next sort of village down here, Latham Hall, and there was royalists. Now for anybody with a good long memory, you'll probably remember me doing a video of Cromwell's stone from outside Latham House, where supposedly they melted all the shot in this stone and fired it at Latham House, you know, the parliamentarian forces. If you've not seen that video, I'll bang a link up to that one for you. Now, this chapel that we've left behind me, that was actually used to stable horses by Cromwell's men. You know, he pitched out to worshippers and he stuck his horses in there while they was sieging the hall up the road there. And it's a funny one that, really, because the parliamentarian forces did a hell of a lot of damage to churches. And one of the reasons was, it wasn't as they was particularly, you know, anti-religious, you know, they hated religion, early communist type of thing. It wasn't that. I'll just get over this star here. No, it wasn't that. What it was, a lot of churches had a high steeple, and that could be used as a vantage point. You know, somebody up there spotting, the days before binoculars of course, they would see someone and they would say, you know, we're being attacked type of thing. So they would go in and they would destroy the church to stop it being used as that. Also, churches were always built with big thick walls, and the idea being, you know, you could go in there and they could be attacked, you know, with cannon fire and that, and the idea would be you would be protected with thick walls. So they did destroy churches for that reason. And obviously, you know, Cromwell's men needed somewhere to stable their horses, so that's why they stuck them in there. You know, some of the original pieces from that chapel, I believe, have since been moved into the church that replaced it, so there's still some little bits and pieces. Just making our way across this field. I'm coming up to some bloody cows here, and they're wondering what the hell I'm doing. Let's hope there's no bloody bulls in this field. Can't see there being though. Right, hot potters, unfortunately I've had to retreat. There's rows of cattle there and they're coming towards me like Roman legions. You know, coming to me in like a square formation, so I'm going to make my way back across this bridge here, behind me, the one as I came over, and we'll go down the canal bank and make our way to the main road. Unfortunately, this bridge, I didn't notice it when I was coming across and talking to you. It's really bloody rickety. I'll show you in a minute just how rickety it is. Now, I'm in the middle here. This might not be a good idea, this. I might end up in Dougie, but we'll give it a go and I'll show you just how rickety it is. Now, watch this bridge here. I'm just going to... Now, that's the bridge that's moving, not me. Look how bloody bad that is. If any of you have seen that film, Cassandra Crossing, where they send that train through Poland and they send it across a rickety old bridge, this is it. Right, well, enough of that. I'm going to whip camera around and we're going to get off it. How bloody bad's that, eh? Not bad news, isn't it, if you've had a skinful and you can decide to come across there. Now, we'll make our way back over this this little foot stye here. And we're back to safety. Those cows can't get at me now. You know, I'm not at age or at build for being chased across fields by cows. Probably won't do you any harm, but I ain't risking it, you know. I just ain't risking it, curious. I once got bit by an horse, an amorous horse. I was out with Mrs H and girls. Went across this field, and Mrs H she doesn't like horses, she's scared of them, and she was like, I don't want to cross. I said, they'll not bother you, they'll not bother you. Anyway, this female horse come up to Mr H and it's sniffing at me and it's sniffing at my shoulder. Lucy, bless her, you know, she was shit scared of it as well. She's at the side of me trying to get away. Rosie's on the other side of the fence, she'd have took it on. You know what Jack Russell's are, they'll always try and take on something that's bigger than them. But yeah, when I showed no interest in it, Bushak, it tried to rip a bloody lump out my shoulder. You know, and this is something I always have a moan at with farmers and that. You know, you have all this land, why don't you just do like they've done here? You know, and just put a fence either side and leave footpath so people can walk through it. Yeah, it's going to cost you more money. But how much does it cost you with people who go over and they bring a dog, or, you know, the townies, like myself, and they come over, one of your animals comes over and has a go at them and they lash out at animal. It's going to cost you a lot more in vet's fees, I should imagine, you know. Not as I would, you know, I would advocate hurting an animal, I would never do that, but, you know, people get scared. Anyway, enough of that little moan. It's a moan that's throughout a lot of my videos where I come through and into the countryside. I suppose farmer would turn around and say, you shouldn't be a bloody countryside, should you? Get out, you tiny bugger. Right then, we're back over, and we should be coming back up to where that cross was, you know, marking St Maurice / Douglas Chapel. Like I said, we'll make our way down the canal bank. This video sort of extended a little bit, hasn't it? Because I was only going to do these 2 locations, but why not? Why not, seeing as it's such a good day? It's getting a bit warm under the old hat. I might have to take that off in a bit. Vanity, the vice of fools. Yeah, I wouldn't mind one of these houses myself. If I had one of them houses, I'd be out with metal detector. See if I can find anything from Old Chapel. I'm surprised they had somebody down like, what's his name, Baldrick Robinson. Have him down. You know, come down and see if they can find the old remains of it. Mind you, if I had the money for one of these houses, I'd have other interests, wouldn't I? Jetting off to Saint-Tropez and things like that. Not mulling about with a spade. Although I don't think it'd change me hot potters. I think I'd still do the old things that I've always done. Although I don't do lottery anymore. Me and Mrs H haven't done that for ages. I've even pulled out my work syndicate. Don't know, do you guys still do lottery? I think it's a bit of a con personally. Right, we're back on the canal bank. Make our way down to the main road now. Luckily, this stretch here isn't too muddy underfoot. Not like it is way back there. With a rather loud voice though. Whisper off our fields. Always a bugger trying to get the handles right, you know, especially this time of year, as I said, because the sun's so low. It ends up, it makes you either blinded because it's shining directly in the camera lens, or I end up as a black disc. Woohoo, I hear Laurie say, we don't want to see your ugly mush, Mr H. Right then, I'm going to switch off for a bit because there's nothing really interesting to see on this stretch. And join me again when we get to the main road. Right then, we're just making our way now up to the main road on the canal. Like I said, this is a stretch of canal I've walked before, so there's not really anything to show you as such. We'll get on this little humpback bridge here, walk down the main road, and we should pass where I turned in and where the old jalopy's parked. We'll make our way up to the church. Now I am hoping that it is the church at the bottom of Parbold Hill and not the one at the top. Otherwise, it's a long walk uphill. So, join me in a minute when we get on the main road. So, we're now about halfway up Parbold Hill. It's a fair old walk up there. And, I should imagine, the people of down there in Douglas, when they realised that walk up here, had come to church, started seriously thinking about the religion. I know I would have been. Mind you, a lot different back then, wasn't it, 1800s? God-fearing. I think there was even a law, wasn't there, at one time in this country, you had to attend church. Right then, here we are. This is the church behind me, or in front of me should I say, that replaced that one back there. Very, very impressive. A lot more impressive than the ones at Douglas Chapel. I'll try and splash some photos in there of the old Douglas Chapel. And as you can see, that basically started out life as a barn, where this was purpose built. Now, the thing is, where's the entrance to this? I think it's on the side. Now, unfortunately, the Christ Church is at the top of Parbold Hill. You can probably just see the other church there in the distance. That's at the bottom. So, as I say, I would seriously have been considering my denomination and my faith if I had to walk up there every Sunday. Anyway, here's the rather impressive entrance to Christ Church, and I must admit that the successor is a lot better than the original building. Now the church is open today. There appears to be a bit of a service going on, so I'm going to be a bit respectful here, because you know, you don't want to be disrespectful to people's beliefs. Right folks, I've come away from the church out of respect, because as you can probably see, there's a number of people there in the background, and what's happening is there's a wedding going on. You know, one lucky couple are getting married and tying the knot today. Hopefully they'll last as long as me and Mrs H have, and they'll be half as happy as me and Mrs H have. Bit of cheese there for you, Mrs H, as always. Right then, getting back to this church, it was consecrated in 1875, and that became the church for this area, and they closed Douglas Chapel down the road, and this became the new church. As I say, it's a very impressive one, and it certainly looks a lot better than the old building that it replaced. Now unfortunately I'm going to have to cut this video here. I was hoping to take a look around the church, but with there being a wedding going on and a service, out of respect I'm going to leave it and cut this video here. I'm going to now make my way back down Parbold Hill. It feels like I've climbed all the way up for nothing, like the Grand Old Duke of York. But I'm going to get back, and I'm going to get back to the old jalopy and head off back home and edit this for your edification. So folks, until the next time, from myself, Mr H, it is bye bye for now.